接下来，我们即将进入大家期待的高层对话。在换场的时候，让我先来介绍今天的主持人。The high-level dialogue will begin soon. This dialogue will be moderated by Mr. Thomas McDevitt, Chairman of the Washington Times. Let us now welcome our guest speakers for the high-level dialogue. This dialogue will be moderated by Mr. Thomas McDevitt, Chairman of the Washington Times. Let us welcome the panelists of this dialogue, Minister Bi-Ling Kwan of the Ocean Affairs Council, Deputy Secretary General Fei Fan Lin of National Security Council, Taiwan, Sir Gavin Williamson, MP, United Kingdom, Mr. Aoyama Yamato, Member of the House of Representatives, Japan. Mr. McDevitt, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me now? Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank our host, Minister Kwan, for organizing, and her team, her amazing team, for organizing an exceptional conference. And I want everyone to join me in giving her a warm round of applause for everything she's done. Thank you. And to begin our panel, I've asked the minister to feel free to make some comments, whatever she'd like to talk about. I'm so interested in how she sees the future of this incredible ministry. And so, Madam Minister, the floor is yours, and please feel free to share with us your wisdom.
OK， 谢谢。我想刚刚主持人特别说的，今天论坛的成功，所有的成功要归咎于所有出席的讲者，大家的卓越的贡献。那么我表达，我也是早上有在影片上看到大家的讨论，感觉到十分的印象深刻，也感觉到十分的感谢。那海委会作为中华民国台湾海洋政策治理上面的一个中央主管机关，今天早上有一位刘教授特别说了，我们的工作包含的就是3安4海，在海洋治理上面的国家的安全，海上犯罪查缉的治安，以及人民救援救生救难的平安，那么以及海洋的保育、海洋的废弃物的清理、海洋污染的防治、海洋产业的发展等等。所谓3安4海的工作，那这些工作非常的庞杂，那但是在我看来，这样的庞杂，它显示的是丰富，它意味着我们可以在众多的领域来发展跟世界各国的合作，这也就是今天有各位在参加我们这样的一个论坛，我们可以期待的一个未来，有太多的课题，只要是关于海洋的课题，海洋委员会都有足够的空间跟切面，我们可以来发展国际的合作。如同刘教授今天早上他所关心的，那我们跟印度可以有什么合作？我们可不可以透过科学来建立一个持久性的不会受政治影响的合作？那我也可以说明，就是我们有一个国家海洋研究院，它是特别在台湾的海洋科学研究上面扮演重要角色的一个单位，而他们也刚好会跟印度的国家级的研究单位签合作的备忘录。 换句话说，在这个部分，我们并不会因为是不是有外交的关系而受到的阻碍。所以就海洋事务在海洋的治理上，我仍然是一个概念，就是说我们只有一个海洋，大家共同对于守护这个海洋的安全、和平、永续跟发展都有相同的责任。而在这个部分，我们应该在一个海洋上像一个家人一样，要去发展各种的国际的合作。那尤其是今天我们最关心的这个主题是有关于海域的安全。那海域的安全对我来讲，我当然是非常重要的责任的一环。那大家所熟知的是，我今天早上也说了，我们是在第一岛链，我们是在应对中国的军事演习、中国的灰色地带骚扰的第一线，我们就在这个角力战场的第一线。所以对我们来讲，这个是我们每天的日常。就在此时此刻，我必须说，我们的海巡的同仁也正在东沙的岛屿上面陪着中国的海警船在驱离它。海警船也就在此时此刻，他们就在我们东沙的环礁、我们的限制水域上面骚扰我们，而我们就在那里严正的执法，予以广播驱离，也正在执行这样的任务。所以对世界各国来讲，可能所谓灰色袭扰就是大家熟悉的这个部分。中国灰色袭扰的手段，每日的在我们的领空，在我们的限制海域不定期的或者是例行的就在那边巡航。那我们特别会把中国这样的行动用2个层次来看待。一个层次当然是国防安全的层次，那这个层次的话，大家都知道战争不是这样在进行的。灰色袭扰它所依恃的就是说我们会坚持和平的价值，所以他用这样的方法在骚扰我们。因此就这个部分我们会比较积极的去处理成当他想要来熟悉，可能他想要来熟悉他的战场的时候，我们也借着这个机会有所学习，对他们有所了解。好，那这个是在国防安全的层面。当我们也因此而更知道他们的战略、他们的战术、他们部署的逻辑的时候，那我想这个是我们所必须要因应的一部分。那当然另外一部分是我们一定要掌握住我们执法的权利在手中，也就是说我们必须要去突破他用这样的一个剧场想要去发展的叙事方式。中国就是善用历史叙事的手段，或者是他的叙事的手法来进行认知作战，想要去挑战既有的有秩序的这个海洋的秩序。我想我们今天 Gavin 前部长他在国防大臣的时代，他就已经发现也已经特别的要提醒大家，就是中国的历史叙事的操作是对印太地区的海洋秩序而言是一种挑战。好，我想中国的灰色地带的袭扰对他们而言，他们企图想要去创造的一个叙事的模组，那就是说他要告诉全世界的世人说，这是他在领海合法执法的合法维权的行动。那这个部分就是我们非常重要的工作之一了。我们必须很透明的非常积极的对国际去揭露执法权是在我们的手上，所以行动上我们必须执法。因此对于违法的抽沙，我们要扣押他们的船，我们要没收他们的船，我们要予以判刑。对于越界的捕鱼，我们要依法裁处，我们要可以依法必须要扣押，我们会扣押，我们会依法裁处。那对于违法的个别的偷渡也一样。那晚近我们也特别对于破坏海缆的船只，我们也予以扣押，予以逮捕，并且第一审的时候也已经判刑。好，我想在台湾的主权海域执法权是掌握在我们的手中的。那因此就这个部分而言，我们每日海巡在面对的是这样的一个情景。 那当然灰色地带的袭扰，它相当的多元，来的速度可能也很快。譬如我刚刚讲的偷渡，我们来自于不同方向而来的偷渡，我们都知道他们很可能是要来这里生存，要来这里工作，但是呢，我们会发现从中国来的偷渡有非常多，它是小目标的，个人的求泳或者是橡皮艇这种小目标的偷渡，而偷渡而来的时候，他们的说辞，以及他们完全没有做要在台湾落地的准备，好的这种形式，我们会认为说这是不是有计划的灰色袭扰的手段？那原来我们不见得认为这个是他对台湾灰色袭扰的手段，但是当我们发现有4次的军演都配套有这样的小目标的偷渡的时候，我们就必须因应这会不会是有计划的，我们就不排除这种可能性。所以台湾作为这样的应对中国权力扩张的第一线而言，在应对中国的灰色袭扰的这个部分，我们有很多的经验。我们也认为，在这个部分，国际之间有共同经验的国家，我们其实是可以有很多可以合作来发展的，也有很多我们的经验可以分享的。谢谢。
Thank you. Thank you, Minister. I do want to say, as chairman of the Washington Times, being in Washington for many decades, I think the American media needs to do a better job of letting the American public know of what actually is happening in Taiwan. Most people have no idea. Almost every day there are ships or planes coming from China. It would be shocking to most people. So you can count on the Washington Times to want to do a better job at that. So thank you, Minister. Thank you once again. We're delighted to have the Deputy Secretary General of the National Security Council. I'm sure his heavy weight for his job is only half as much as his boss, the minister. But I do have a question for Lin Fei Fan. Given the increasing complex gray zone area that we've been talking about at this conference, how do you see the best approach to strengthen resilience in Taiwan? What steps are you taking? How do you see that area?
Yes, thank you so much. I think I can first explain about how we see the current strategic environment around us. I can give you one example. So if you look at the news today, just happened this morning, and combining the situation we faced yesterday, we got 78 sorties of PLA aircraft coming across the median line and also our ADs. These 2 days is probably the number is one of the highest in recent months. They have 78 aircraft. They got 8 vessels surrounding the waters around us. So that's actually the situation that we are facing every day. But as Thomas just mentioned, that not so many people in Washington or even around the world actually understand the situation. Many people, well, to be honest, well, in the past 10 decades, perhaps a lot of people still embrace the illusion that there could be a peaceful solution for this type of things. But if you look at their ambition, it's very clear that all this type of maneuver or operation, they're not just aiming to Taiwan. If you look at the whole mapping that they put out, especially those operations, they're not just coming to the median line of Taiwan Strait. They're not just crossing that line. If you look at their practices in the recent years, they're also practicing so-called A2AD on the east coast of Taiwan. So what they're really aiming for, I think, is very obvious that they have a bigger strategic ambition. This ambition is way beyond their possession on Taiwan. So let me be clear that the situation that we are facing is not just a situation that Taiwan is facing alone. If you look at the two different examples, starting from last year to this year, another example is that last December, they conducted one of the biggest maritime operations in December. That exercise, they didn't name it for the title like a joint sword exercise. They didn't name it. It's a very silent way that they turn on a military drill. And in that particular operation, they got over 100 vessels surrounding the whole waters. And if you look at the map, they're not just in Taiwan Strait, they're also in East China Sea and South Sea. So combining all together, more than 100 vessels are doing this type of maneuver around Taiwan. And what they're practicing is very clear as well. If you look at their aircraft carrier just recently, they have also conducted a very long patrol in the very far distance from Taiwan. They crossed the first island chain. They're approaching the second island chain, and also trying to exert their influence and their forces into the third island chain. So their ambition is rather clear than everyone's understanding, I think. So this is the environment we're in. And this May, there's another exercise that also conducted by Chinese POA. It's also, again, over 70 vessels around Taiwan's water, again, combining East China Sea, Taiwan Strait, and South Sea. So they have been doing this in a very often and frequent basis. That's what we're observing. I think combining all these facts, it's very important for us to really understand that Taiwan is not the only target. Their ambition is way beyond Taiwan. And the second thing I want to mention that how we deal with that, this type of threats or coercion on an everyday basis. One of our strategic vulnerabilities, or I can say that one of the biggest concerns we have, is actually if China wants to turn the military drill into the military invasion on day one, like how can we react on that? For the examples I gave you, that this operation that we already saw that they didn't name it in title, and they switch on when they announce it for we're going to have an operation on 7 a.m. and then later on, 1 minute later, they turn it on for the whole thing. So this type of thing is already, it's not actually. I would say it's actually it's already break a lot of international norms, even by this type of military drills. So one of the biggest challenges for us is how to deal with this type of thing. So the line administration that we have very clear goals that how to strengthen our defense capabilities and also our determination to strengthen our own defense. If you look at the past 1 year, President Lai has already announced at least 3 major policy priorities. The first one is increase our military spending. Increasing our military spending is not because of the reason of that. It's not because of voices in Washington continue to urge Taiwan to spend more. It's not because of that. It's because that we understand so much about the importance to build up the capabilities and also our defense abilities. I think that understanding and that sense of urgency that brings us to the level that we need to strengthen our defense by spending more. But spending more is not just about the importance of that. It's not just about the number. It's about how we use those money to invest in the capabilities we need. So basically, current ideas we have, we know that the modern warfare nowadays, that we must invest more on asymmetrical capabilities. We also need to spend more on unmanned systems. Just a recent example is that we have a very big drone demonstration that we invite a lot of the foreign companies to come over, including the companies from the United States. that we invite them to come over and try to find some local partners, local companies can work with them to help us to strengthen that capabilities. That's the direction we are aiming for. So we're not just looking at the UAV or USV. We're also looking at different type of drone system that can help us to boost our defense capabilities. We're also looking at the defense, the air defense system, including the missile defense capabilities. So that's the reason why we are buying so much different type of weapon systems from the United States to help us to boost that capability as well. But the second policy priorities I would like to share is that President Lai is also very clear that in order to countering Chinese military aggression, I think it's very important for us to understand that how China are infiltrated into our society. So I think it's very important for us to understand that, well, people around the world in the past usually will neglect the fact that Taiwan is a society, it's an open society that China used to infiltrate and penetrate into. So I think it's very important for us to also build a mechanism to strengthen that national security mechanism, to really examine the loopholes that we have. So President Lai, in this March, he announced that we're going to start a new strategies to counter the Chinese infiltration into not just our military, but also the public service and also the grassroots community. So combining all together is called the 17 strategies. That strategy, one very important point is that we are going to restore military court. The military court is actually, it will not entitle for any investigation to the private citizens. It will only entitle for the national security linked cases that involve our military active duty military soldiers and officers. So that's our efforts to doing that. I think a lot of countries in the region would also need to think about that. We already see that some of the cases that in Philippines as well, that Chinese ethnics, they perhaps penetrating into the area near the military base. This type of thing has already happened. Okay. So the third point of our efforts to strengthen our national defense or the defense capability, I think it's very important to look at our whole of society resilience approach. That's a new effort. President Lai also very, very clear that actually the whole program is actually started since 2022, after Russia's invasion to Ukraine. So we know that the key point that why Ukrainian people can be so resilient to deter or to defend themselves is because that they have a very strong society that really want to help themselves. So we are also in the process trying to combine all the efforts from the grassroots communities and also from the civil society to emphasize this more cohesion whole of society resilience approach. So we are looking at a lot of different reforms, including civil training. How can we boost more numbers of training? More people get trained as volunteers. That's the direction we are moving in. We're examining our medical services. We're looking at our air raid shelters. Just this morning, that we released a new instructions for people to follow. The new instruction for the air raid defense. So this type of efforts actually all combined together is all our whole of society resilience program. So I think I already covered a lot. I will stop here first and to see that if you've got any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're also so happy to have Gavin Williamson, who's currently a member of Parliament in the UK, formerly served as the UK Defence Secretary and Education Secretary. And what's most interesting for our audience today is that when he was the Minister of Defence, he initiated the deployment of the UK Royal Navy's aircraft carrier to the Indo-Pacific to ensure free navigation and address maritime security. Fascinating background. And Gavin, you've had great experience internationally in Africa and of course in the UK Parliament. One area we'd like to know from you is how can the international community lend more support for Taiwan? What would you advise colleague countries and your friends in the parliament about Taiwan? What should we all do on the international side?
So I'm going to be in danger of being rude to my hosts, which is never a good idea, is it? But the first thing I think we need to see is actually Taiwan is one of the most polite, beautiful, wonderful countries, but sometimes they're almost too polite. You're too courteous. And you've got such a latent opportunity here, and actually everything that we want to see our partners to be is here in Taiwan. And what I think the first stage is, I think Taiwan needs to ask more of others, not in broad sweep, but in specifics. And sometimes small things can have disproportionate impact. And I think in return, I think Britain, I would say, is actually a good bridge for Taiwan into Europe, because I would say we're a bit more bold. We're a bit less taken in by the Chinese than the French, who want to sell their handbags and their wine, or the Germans, who want to sell their cars. The scales have fallen a little bit from our eyes. And I actually think we can all push a lot harder in actually standing up for a friend and a country that has that same shared values base. And I think Britain can do that more. But actually, all European countries, actually, China will push, it will coerce, it will use the levers at its disposal. But actually, if we start speaking louder and more assertively, China will be pushed back.
Very good. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you. What do you plan to do when you go back to the parliament about this?
You see, he's so much more polite to everyone else. You can tell it's coming up to Independence Day. They want to assert their rights here.
Remind me, independence from where?
Every country makes mistakes. But what I want to do is I want to work with my Taiwanese friends to actually make sure that the voice is louder and actually the voice is more heard. Because when I first sent British ships through the Taiwan Strait, the United States had been doing it for ages. But actually Britain hadn't, Australia hadn't, France hadn't. And there was immediate pushback. The Chinese demanded the British ambassador in Beijing come in and get immediately dressed down. But actually, what else did they do? Their bark is worse than their bite. And actually, after we had done it, of course, the French felt obliged to follow in our footsteps. They eventually do. The Australians did it, and so many more. And this is where we have to continuously push back. We continuously have to actually, because Taiwan's freedoms are actually our freedoms as well, and we're protecting them together. But you cannot leave one country as just a pure and simple lone voice. So this is where we have to get better. So I will be pushy, I will be bolshy, I will be not quite as polite as my Taiwanese friends, and I will start to make sure that we make the point. And actually, we can learn a lot from Taiwan as well, because actually Taiwan has been operating in the grey zone, dealing with grey zone threats for an awful long time. Britain has had to do that, not just with China, but also with Russia as well. And there is also a common battle currently happening in Europe, which is Ukraine, because this is a battle about actually a democratic and free country standing up to tyranny. And the difficulty is, when one tyrant sees another tyrant get away with it, it encourages others. So actually, it is a common battle that we're having to fight, and actually making sure that we're a loud voice, we're an enthusiastic voice on behalf of Taiwan, I think will actually embolden others to be a little bit braver than maybe they have been in the past.
Well said. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Minister, we've been delighted to have such a great international audience, and I know the delegation that came from Japan is quite distinguished with active members of the Diet and the Congress there. And we're thrilled to have Congressman Aoyama Yamato, who has served 8 years, as I understand it, in the Congress, in the Diet. And one of the unique factors of this gentleman, he's very dedicated to strengthening Japan-Taiwan relations, but it's not just in terms of his words. He actually created a program of sister cities between Chiura City and Tainan City. He's visited Taiwan many times, has a lot of experience connecting city in Japan with the city, Tainan City here. And through that, I think he's learned a lot about how the local collaboration can help build resilience for the whole society. So Congressman, I'd like to ask you to please share your wisdom. How does that work in terms of the local city-to-city connection of citizens to build that fabric nationwide? It's great to have you. Go right ahead.
はい。まずはいい質問ありがとうございます。日本の立憲民主党衆議院議員、青山大和です。ちょうど2年前、私の選挙区の茨城県土浦市、来総統が市長をしていた台南市と姉妹都市を結ぶことになりました。これ以外にも、ここ数年、私の周りでも、いろんな日本の市、町が台湾の市と姉妹都市を結んでおります。特に蔡英文総統が、蔡英文さんが総統に就任されて以降、この傾向がとても強くなっていると思います。先ほど来、皆様から安全保障の面、さまざまなお話がありましたけれども、やはり日本は台湾と地理的にとても近いところでありますし、言うまでもなく民主主義、自由、人権、同じ価値観を共有をしております。今、外交安全保障はもちろん、こういった日本としては市町村レベルで人と人との交流、そういうことを進めながら、日本人一人一人が台湾をもっと身近に感じてもらい、日本の周りの海で起きていることを身近に感じてもらえるような、そんな交流を進めております。例えば、先ほどの土浦市で言いますと、この子どもたちの修学旅行に、学校の旅行で台南へ派遣するような、そんな交流の話も出ております。そういった草の根レベルの外交がこれからは特に重要だと私は思っております。
Great. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause then. I'd like to follow up, just coming back this way to the Congressman, with a follow-up question. I know there's an election coming up in Japan in a couple of weeks, and you have been on the opposition side, but tell us about the core value of Japan policy related to the Indo-Pacific region. No matter who's in charge in Japan, how do you approach that? How do you keep consistency in terms of policy in such important areas?
はい、まさに明日から日本の参議院選挙が始まります。なので私も今日この後終わったらすぐ日本に帰らなければいけません。ただし今回の選挙は、私たち衆議院ではなくて参議院の選挙でございます。そして今回このフォーラムに日本の国会議員3人招待していただきました。先ほどスピーカーで話した源馬議員と私は野党の立憲民主党、今日の一番最初のスピーチをした木川田議員は自由民主党 LDP の議員です。 日本として台湾海峡のこの安定維持、平和、ここに関しては、仮に日本で政権交代が起きようとも、私たち立憲民主党が政権を取ったとしても、この基本的な政策が変わることはありません。まずそこは、最初に伝えておきます。もちろん、私たちがまずはアメリカとしっかり同盟国として連携をしながら、その抑止を高めていく。我々も防衛力の抜本的な改革を今行っているところですし、今日はフィリピンやインドネシア、マレーシアの皆様も参加してますが、日本は今まで ODA、オフィシャル・ディベロップメント・アシスメント、そういうので地域の貢献をしてきましたが、2年前から OSA、オフィシャル・セキュリティ・アシスタント、いわゆる防衛装備品を同志国に提供する、そういう枠組みを新しく作りました。自分たちの防衛力をしっかり改善していく。日本とアメリカの同盟をしっかり強固にしていく。そして、志を同じくする同志国と共にしながら、この、力による現状変更が起きないような、そういう政策に取り組むことは、立憲民主党も同じでございます。
Thank you very much. And I know he has to catch a plane soon, so we're going to finish up quickly. To that end, we're going to continue coming this way. So, Gavin, you're next. I want you to take a minute and give us a final comment, especially in light of UK's relationship with Taiwan. How do you see that playing out? What can UK do more in the Indo-Pacific? You're so present as it already is with the Five Eyes and the work that UK does. 1 minute.
So I think there's an awful lot more in terms of both defence and security, whether that's British businesses working closer with Taiwanese businesses in terms of on the security and the defence side. I think there's an awful big area that can be developed in terms of wider commercial businesses, but also in terms of education and health. I mean, Taiwan is leading the world in terms of some of the health solutions. How can we work closer with Taiwan and really benefit from that world cutting edge? Because we have a very aging population in the UK as you do in Taiwan, the same on education, the same on research and development. But we shouldn't let sometimes Taiwan's troublesome neighbours put us off from being bigger and bolder. And I think that is so critical because there's a lot of opportunity for Taiwan in deep relationships with the UK and a lot of opportunities for the UK as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And final comment from Li Fei Fan. In terms of the vision for the conference here, the OIC, how do you see it developing? Of course, come back 1 year from now. But what would you advise? How can we do things every week going on for the next year? How do we keep this alive to promote even a new level of dialogue and action coming from the brain trust you have in this room?
Yeah, so I would say the key point would be deterrence. Deterrence is the key for everything. And what we're looking at, the current situation that involving not just Taiwan, as I mentioned on the earlier stage, I think it's very important for us to notice that we, as the international community, we can all do more in deterring Chinese aggression to not just Taiwan, to Philippines, to Japan. I think that's a very important note that everyone should share that type of understanding. And another thing is that in order to build up this deterrence, I think we must build up the mechanism for international cooperation on an everyday basis. We must strengthen, as I mentioned last night, I think, and also earlier this morning, I think just purely for Taiwan, it's very important for us to build up the ISR capabilities. But if it is just Taiwan, it would be very hard for us to acquire all these capabilities we need. So it would need the regional partners and allies to all come together to figure out the platform, to figure out the mechanism, to figure out the ways that we can move forward together. And maybe to think about how we can work together to complicate Chinese calculation, because the time is ticking. As many people suggest that while on behalf of National Security Council of Taiwan that we don't have the timing, as many people suggest, like 2027, but we must to have the thinking of how to delay and deter that happen, and how to complicate their operation on the everyday basis. If everyone is joining, Philippines, Taiwan, Japan, India, United States, UK, are all come together working on a common strategy, I think that would be a better solution for all to deter the thing that we won't want to see to happen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that could be a great outcome of this conference, is figure out new ways that we could keep this moving forward. Minister Kwan, I have a final question for you, and we did not talk about this earlier, but let's imagine that you have a chance tonight to talk on the phone with Donald Trump. And he says to you, I'm so impressed with the conference, I heard some news about your conference. Tell me, what is it that the U.S. can do? What would you say to him?
我本来需要很礼貌，因为刚刚被纠正，所以我不能太有礼貌。因此这一通电话，我会很不礼貌的要拿一件很大的事情来跟川普总统讨论。自由航行也好，我们非常的欢迎。我们也在维护台海成为自由航行的航道，一直很努力，有贡献。去年有10个国家17艘次在台海自由航行，今年到现在也已经4个国家8艘次。那英国的外相也说，未来英国会有更多。那当然要很感谢 Sir Gavin， 他开启了英国的这个战略。这个部分我们可以国际合作，我们也有很多国际的合作，譬如说中国娴熟于它的历史叙事。晚近他最强烈的做法就是他用他的历史叙事的方法说2758决议文决定了台湾是中国的领土，是中国不可分割的一部分，联合国的2758决议文。但是这件事情我们透过国际之间的诸多的了解以后，有一个又一个国家的国会，包括英国的国会，他通过了决议，他们认为他们公开的倡议2758决议文并不涉及台湾的主权。这都是各个国家可以协助共同来抵挡中国灰色地带袭扰跟它的主权的这个霸权的方法。但是川普总统不一样，毕竟他是川普总统，所以我想提的当然就不止这些层次了。我想跟川普总统分享，台湾过去22年来，我们加入了4大国际组织：奥委会、亚银、APEC 跟 WTO。美国应该在这过程历任4位总统，台湾历任3位总统，中国历任2位领导人。这4大国际组织在处理台湾跟中国复杂的主权争议的时候，国际的领袖透过谈判发挥他们的创意，每一个国际组织都做了不同的安排，让台湾可以成为会员，而且和中国互不隶属。很多年了，不曾再有第5个有创意的谈判结果出现。台湾需要加入国际组织，我们会成为国际组织非常有贡献的一个成员，我们会有所贡献。 我们有意愿，我们也有能力。下一个，台湾可以正式成为国际组织会员的模式。川普总统是谈判专家，他如果能够主导国际的谈判，谈判出来，那是我打电话想要跟他讨论的课题。我的礼貌有更超越了吧？我仍然很有礼貌的来谈这个我认为非常合理的课题。大家想一想，我们在奥委会里面，我们不可以唱国歌，不可以用国旗，但是我们就是一个成员，然后我们排队不会排在西字的系列里面，不会排在中国的后面。我们虽然叫做 Chinese Taipei， 但是我们不会跟香港、澳门一样站在中国的后面。我们在 APEC， 我们在 WTO 一样，有很多不一样的安排。我们在 APEC， 我们没办法，大家都是member economy， 台湾也是。虽然我们叫做 Chinese Taipei， 但是我们是 member of economy，OK？ 好，它是平等的。但是我们的总统没办法参加领袖会议，但是邀请还是有的，邀请函是给我们的总统的，但是我们总统会另外指派代表，这些都是非常细腻精致的安排，而这一些安排最后可以让台湾和中国在同一个国际组织里面互不隶属的共同都是会员。我们有委屈，但是我们愿意接受，所以我想这是我最大的心愿。谢谢。
Great. I got a feeling that phone call went very well, and President Trump received what you said. I think the point that the minister raises is critical. In some sense, it's unthinkable. It's unthinkable in the 21st century that the people of Taiwan, the nation of Taiwan, is not recognized. And the fact that you can't be part of these organizations is crazy. For example, when we watched the Olympics in Paris and saw the boat with the Taiwan athletes, and it was China Taipei, that whole flag, it was, even I heard from friends in the media, it's an alternate reality. And it's got to change. And it'll change if enough people raise their voices. So a final point I'd like to make, Minister, is a project we're working on at the Washington Times that I invite everyone to participate in. It's in the early stages, called the Taiwan Freedom Project. And the goal is to create a global strategic communications effort that gets the message out, confronts the gray zone information ops and cognitive warfare of the PRC, pulls the best and brightest creative talent from think tanks to young generation YouTubers, you name it, to legacy media. But I think we're really in a civilization crisis, and we all have to work together like it's life and death. I get a feed, my final point, on my cell phone every day from open source intel, I highly recommended, by Don Sutherland, who lives in Thailand. He's a journalist. Every day I see how many planes and how many ships are coming from the PLA. Like at 4 o'clock in the morning, I get a feed from over here. It's just astounding. I couldn't imagine that happening in America. So I think the global community really must come together as a family of nations. We didn't have time for questions here, but I want to ask everyone to please give a warm round of applause for all of our panelists. And thank you again, Minister. It's been a great, great conference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have the next good panel.
Would have to find you up here. This is the central line, so
Thank you. A special thanks to Mr. McDevitt for moderating this dialogue. Thank you to all the panelists for your participation. This is the end of the high-level dialogue.